What is going on with the Bay Area real estate market? Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in the very near future? Are you curious? Are prices going up? Have they been going down? How has the stock market and the interest rates been impacting things? I'm going to go over all of those today, including what has been going on, certainly, especially in the last 6 months. How has the stock market made an impact when it comes to real estate? And where is the mortgage rate at today? And where is it likely to go in the near future? We're going to drill through all of that today. So let's get into it. So let's begin. Santa Clara County, single family home, condo, townhome has had another increase at the end of April to $1.7 million. This is a blend of single family condos and townhomes, not just single family, by the way. So it has had a very good run. If you want to compare it to other counties, let's take a look for yourself. Has other counties been doing a big benefit of this too? The answer is yes. San Mateo, you can see median is $1.685 million. Very rare times where Santa Clara County is actually doing better than San Mateo County. Let's take a look at San Francisco. How is San Francisco faring when it comes to the median sales price? It's been okay. You can see it's been relatively consistent over the last few months, about 1.423. Let's take a look at two other counties nearby. Alameda County. You can see Alameda County has also done really, really well, 1.2275, a slight increase versus the March figures. And then let's wrap things up in one of the furthest place relative to a lot of these jobs, Contra Costa County. You can see Contra Costa County also has done very, very well. So what is the theme of this? Now, the reason why I went through all these fairly quickly is remember, April numbers are all from March transactions. So it is important to be mindful of like the activity. Where have things been? Where are things likely to go? Now I think the March figures are also going to look very, very good. It may actually have potentially a little bit more of an increase. Now I do see things personally slowing down. And that is good news for those that are maybe feeling a little bit defeated. And that's part of the reason why it has started to kind of cool down a little bit. Now, be mindful, it's still a very, very incredible gains from the last couple of months, as you can see, right? If you compare April to March, that's equivalent to $70,000. That's equivalent to about 4 or 5%. But if you compare those numbers to February, let's take a look together. 1.7 million minus the numbers for a while has been pretty kind of consistent. Let's say 1.46. That has been an increase of 16%. You may be asking, Spencer, where is this 16% coming from? How did it increase so much? Like, how is it such a big impact? And the big reason is this. Interest rates did not actually improve over the last month. Quite frankly, interest rates have actually gotten a little bit worse. Like we went from about like 6.82% to 7.17% on average. In general, many of your rates may be actually lower than this, but you can kind of get a general median. But the reality is this. The rates have been virtually the same levels. It maybe had dropped to the low sixes, and then it increased to the high sevens throughout the last year and a half. But to be fair, this difference is only a purchasing power of only 10% on the improvements, and maybe 6%, 7% on the upside. Because generally every 1% is a 10% purchasing power difference. It is not a magnitude difference. Right. So when rates go from 3.5 to 7%, it did not mean your monthly payments have doubled by 2 times. All that meant was it increased by equivalent to that delta. If it's the delta is 3.5%, equivalent to like 35%. So you can see that hasn't fluctuated much. But what has been the real big thing? The general market has increased significantly of the stock market. Take a look at this. I just picked some very notable names, right? S&P in general in the last 6 months have increased 16%. This includes any sort of decline that had occurred over the last 2 weeks. But you can see many of these notable names. Alphabet. A lot of people thought Google was done. All these layoffs, they thought they were over with. Increased 28% in the last 6 months. Meta, 41% in the last 6 months. Nvidia, 90% in the last 6 months. Feel free to pull it back by a year. By a year, the S&P 500 went up 21%. Alphabet went up 55%. Meta went up 83%. Nvidia went up nearly 200%. So as you can see, even if you were just generally invested in the S&P and you weren't having all your money like under your mattress or in a, bank account only earning the savings amount, most people have done very, very well. If you didn't try to time the market and think you were this perfect timer, a lot of people have been doing very, very well over the last year. But I find this very interesting, right? Remember, six months, 16%. We just talked about this. The last few months have increased 16%. See some very, very similar trends? Does that match up with you, right? Because the mortgage rates got worse, but people still have a lot of money down that they can put down to minimize the size of it. And that is what a lot of people are doing. The interest rates aren't likely to get any better anytime soon. There is no signs of that at all. So for those hoping to try to refinance in the near term, probably don't bank on it. Maybe it's a few years out. So don't guess and don't wait for interest rates to get better. But for those that are buying or those that are buying and selling, which a lot of people are, a lot of people that are selling their places, that's exactly what they're doing. Very few people are actually selling to move out. A lot of people are selling to then move on to the next place. And so when they do that, this absolutely matters, right? The value of the home matters because the proceeds can then fund the bigger down payments. The stock market has helped, which allows them to use those gains, divest from some of them. Because think about this: if you're not even invested in the S&P and you work at any of these companies or you invested in these companies, that's like 2x, 4x, or 2x the gains of it, potentially 3x. Obviously, if you're at NVIDIA, you are a five timer when it comes to the performance of your company versus others. That is a huge advantage that you have that others do not have if you have been aligned and working with those companies. Now, certainly not all is this way, right? If you worked at Apple during this time, that's a 20% delta swing over the last 6 months, right? If you worked at Tesla, unfortunately, even worse, that's a 33% swing. So there are certain people, as you can see, that work at these different companies that are not doing very well, at least from their stock performance kind of bonus side of things. Now, to be fair, their income still may be very high, right? Their income still may be still good enough to be able to buy these homes, and they're just banking on their incomes. A lot of my clients only use their income as their base salary as how they factor it. Their bonuses and their RSUs, they count it as a bonus. So most people are buying very conservatively relative to that math, but that is exactly why you're seeing right now. Now, I do expect that this is going to cool down because it already is. For my existing listings, for the offers we're making on, it's not the same kind of, oh, wow, okay, something sold last month. I got to add a 5% buffer to even have a chance. That time is gone. Now, it is still matching generally what has sold very, very recently. Do not compare against January, February numbers unless you are willing and able to make a 16% premium off of that general delta when you compare to those numbers. But if you look at the March numbers, you can kind of see, okay, it's still falling within this line. If it's sold in April, right? April's all over. There's a lot of transactions in April. April is one of the busiest months all year. This will certainly help you calibrate like where the sweet spot needs to be. Let's take a look at the number of listings. Let's take a look at the number of listings each month, and let's just kind of compare how has this tracked over the last few years. Let's just look at Santa Clara County as an example. Take a look at these numbers. For those of you complaining about this idea of lack of inventory, April has been a phenomenal month. 1956 new listings in Santa Clara County. Compare that to 2022. 2022 was a very popular and very busy time, even higher than that. Not the same numbers as 2021, which is kind of some of the highest number of listings each month, but still only 10% off of that. This is a really big number. Much bigger increases, as you can see, versus like the March figure, versus like the February figures, right? These are all very, very high numbers. And so if you have been struggling to get your offer accepted, if you've been struggling to find homes that could work for you, this is no longer anything related to lack of inventory. This is purely of were you aligned because did you know that the prices had increased 16% in the last 2 months, right? As a median. Were you aware of that and adjust accordingly? Because if you did, there should be no shortage of homes. There's a lot of homes that are coming on the market. So this should help you understand the number of homes that are refreshing, that are coming on, especially in the categories and the areas that you may be looking at. Now, some other metrics I'm going to share with you. Days to sell medium. This does not really increase too much, and it doesn't really matter if it's 8 days, 7 days. In general, the key is most of the time you're going to see homes come on the market Thursday, Friday. They're going to have a weekend of open house. They're going to have a deadline, and then they're going to review offers. They may do a countering of offers, and then the day after, when they get their deposit, they will then mark it online as pending. So the actual time of the submission may have been 2 days before the numbers go pending. As you can see, the average is 8 days. So it may have been day six because most will list it on Thursday, Friday for that week. So when you see this, this is going to be your launch on Thursday. You're going to see that that's when the new batch, that's when people are prepping for their homes. Now, do not ever let the sale price to list price ratio ever impact your psyche or your decision making. You can see the average is 109%. You just saw the numbers from April to May. That increase was about 4 5 about like 5 6%. So in general, on average, most homes are listed quite a bit below. Not just quite a bit below what other homes have sold for, but quite a bit below in general, right? So that's why you see these numbers. The average is 109%. Let me swing this a little bit just so you can see. If I look at single family homes, let's take a look at sales price to list price ratio. Did that change? Changed slightly, 110%, right? So it wasn't that big of a kind of a game that people were playing. The area that it is a little bit more of a game is typically in Alameda County. That is one of the areas that has this kind of significant general delta, and you'll see here, right? You saw previously the chart, it wasn't the same kind of gains that we have experienced out in Santa Clara County. We can look at the last 3 months, 110%, 109%, 108%. So you can see in general, like they listed even lower on purpose. So don't be discouraged. Don't feel bad. Just don't get duped or going to get tricked. Look at and have your realtor like myself look at what other homes have gone for, especially in the last 2 months specifically. Don't look in February, don't look in January unless there wasn't any good comparables in the last 2 months. But as long as it's selling within that range, you should do well. But in general, I'll give you some feedback for buyers right now. My name is Spencer Sue. I help over 250 people every year with their moves. We work with a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers. If you're a buyer right now, keep going at it. You can see no shortage of homes. Yes, it may not be the easiest to win every single offer. My team has helped all of our clients increase their chances by 4x because of our approach. But in general, stay with it. You're going to be fine as long as you have the right support and backing with you and you're making good offers to land in the top few each time. If you're a seller, you're still going to be able to sell for a really, really good price. But just be a little bit more cautious. Don't be overly aggressive when it comes to what you're really hoping for. We're not going to see those 16% increases in 2 months again, right? We're still maybe seeing some slight increases, or even I would say maybe a teetering, perhaps a slight increase of 2%, maybe to the upside of 3%, but no more of those big gains. You'll still end up to do very, very well, but just be mindful as you set the proper expectations as we go through this May season. If you're looking to go over a game plan, my contact details are below. Reach out. Love to set up a game plan to help you find your home, fine tune the best areas to search, and within that, I can assure you we're going to be able to help you land your next home, sell your home for the best possible number and best possible terms. See you next video. Bye now.